Getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows.
Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning. Welcome to Slow Motion Broadcasting for the American Muscle Series round number 2. My name is Adam Thomsen. Joining me in the broadcast booth, who will be a familiar voice to all of you, is Jeremy Scott. And tonight, we are at Mid-Ohio, but not the traditional Mid-Ohio that we're so used to seeing. It's the one with the chicane here, Jeremy. I expect a lot of, what do we call it? Carnage? Drama?
Yeah. Carnage, mayhem, calamity. I've actually had the opportunity to call a couple of races with the chicane in real life, and that was from the candlestick known as the tower that you see there in the middle of your screen. And it is very interesting for a lot of these drivers. Now, also something to think about, in the 80s, they didn't go straight to the keyhole. They did that chicane back in the 80s. So this actually used to be the old pro layout, but once they paved through, it made things a lot faster, a lot smoother. And yeah, this chicane's going to be very, very interesting throughout the night.
And tonight, the man behind the cameras is Ron Maunz, as always, throughout the rest of the season. And tonight, the 2.2-mile circuit called Mid-Ohio, a.k.a. just a mid-track is what I like to call it, is playing host to the American Muscle Series. Last week, well, at Sandown, it was kind of an interesting race. Pretty much anybody who wanted to lead that one did not lead it at the end. And this week could mean a whole lot of difference because we are racing for 40 minutes without a pit stop. These tires are going to be screaming tonight, Jeremy.
They really are. And of course, if it's the Mustang 500. So it's a very capable, I would say, a step up from the MX-5 Cup car, even, close to equal to what is the new Cup car. And yeah, the tires are going to be screaming, so you really got to use what you can here. And of course, you see from right at China Beach all the way till you get to start finish, you're basically punishing these tires left and right, lots of uphills, downhills, left, right, sideways. It's going to be a lot of fun tonight.
The one who wins this race in each class and really overall is going to be the one who can save their tires all the way to the end as we are into qualifying here. But before we talk about qualifying, let's go to the points. After last week at Sandown, the pro class looks like this. Taylor Ballant, last week's winner, 99 points collected on the day, with Luis Henriquez in second. Neil Kemp just 1 point behind Henriquez with 90 points. David Moore sits in that fourth spot. Cam Porter in fifth. Brandon Renfro holding on to the sixth spot right now with 75 points. Chuck Labano in seventh. Jeffrey Schnankel, who was leading at some point last week and unfortunately fell towards the back during the heat race, in the eighth spot. Jay Bast in ninth, and then rounding out the top 10, Andrew Bellin, who also spun while leading at Sandown. Over to the Challenger Series. The championship looks like that. Michael Brennan, 104 points on top there. And then Charles Hosey will be there with 91 points. So he's got a little bit of ground to make up. Mark Cohn in the third spot with 88 points. And Joe Cicchetti right now 78 points. And Dale Jackson rounding out the top five. On to the amateur now. Brandon Carl, great run last week in both the heat race and the feature. He sits there with 95 points on top of the table, with Tom Wendt in the second spot with 92. Jeff Besnard with 79 points is in third. Paul Cantlon is in fourth. Andy Kosick rounds out the top five, and John Casey in the sixth spot with 72 points. So that is a look at the championship standings here. And right now in qualifying, Taylor Ballant on top with the quick time with a 137.413. Luis Henriquez just goes up to the second spot, now gets overtaken by Andrew Bellin with a 137.912. Do we see Ballant maybe try and get closer to that 136 second mark, Jeremy?
It's possible, to say the least, but with this layout, it's going to be absolutely tough to get that extra 0.4 of a second. You see now lots of jostling there for second place. Neil Kemp moves his way up into second place. You're watching Brandon Renfro 10th on the course right now, and he is 9th in class, because you've got the watchman Mark Cohn sitting over there in 6th place as he makes his way through the not so profiled China Beach as he goes up and over and sets himself up. You see the Sim Gaming Expo logo there on the side of his Mustang, and these guys will be there actually in September. I can't wait to see them all in person come and make some sort of attack, but let's see what Cone can do. We saw that he was back there about third in points last time out, so a stout run at Sandown, as you mentioned, and that is one track where it is absolutely tough to try and get a good run going, because it's so I would say almost fracture, but that's what makes Australian road courses so great, is you really have to be on your game to get a full lap in, and that's basically why Mid-Ohio can be so great as well. Thankfully, it's not raining because we can't call it Mud Ohio, as we're watching more cars come across the line right now. David Finch, 19th overall with a 39 double at 9.
One thing to keep an eye on tonight, Mark Cohn in the 6th spot overall is on leading the Challenger Series drivers. Andy Bell up to the top 10 overall. Sits second amongst the Challenger drivers. Brian Kennedy, 13th. Joe Cicchetti right now in 16th. And Josh Wilkie makes it up in the 17th position. Somebody we didn't really talk about last week all that much was Michael Brennan, who won the Challenger Series class, but we actually had him marked down as a pro driver, so we didn't give him his flowers. He had a heck of a drive last week to win in the Challenger division. As we're watching here, Josh Wilkie, he goes in to the chicane here. Get nice navigation through there. That's going to be very interesting, especially if you're somebody who's very used to the IndyCar layout and just GT3 layouts. They don't use the chicane, so it's kind of a little bit of a curveball with some of these drivers who are very comfortable being in those race cars in iRacing. But tonight, they're going to have to mix it up a little bit. Definitely a lot of guys going in for some practices. Taylor Ballant, I think he has called it a day. He is thinking he is secure on the pole position here with a 137.413. And this is probably going to be about the fastest lap times we're going to see tonight, Jeremy, as this is a 40-minute lap race, no pit stops. You can't change your tires. So you're going to have to be super conservative at the beginning and really save the tires to the end.
As Ron will attest, one of our good friends, saying, take the girl home that you brought with to the dance. That's exactly what you need to do here. Real quick, Ron, can we take another look at the chicane there by the keyhole? Because I want to talk a little bit about that and the challenges that is going to bring, especially on the start, as we are watching Andy Kostic make his way through. Here comes Wilkie. You're on board with him. And this gives me a better view right here. So obviously you're going through turn one as you normally would. But when you try and exit, you got to already set yourself up early. It's not like with the keyhole early where you have time to set yourself up. You really got to set yourself up now. You have a little bit of a downhill going in, then you go back up towards the chicane here. It's a climbing chicane, and you're still climbing. Oh, now you've got an even worse entry going into the keyhole. That's going to make things difficult, especially with cars 2-3 wide. You see what Josh is doing here. He's sawing on that wheel, trying to make that keyhole one big corner, but unfortunately just couldn't make it happen. So it's going to be very difficult on the start for these drivers.
Well, as the 10 minutes is coming to a close here, checker flag will fall in about 10 seconds here. We're looking at David French right now as he is making his way by up to the start-finish line, crosses the line, does not improve the time. Yes, he does. Our timing tower decided to take a little bit. He moves up to 6 fastest, so a good last lap there for the driver of the 42. So now we're going to get set up. We're going to go quite quickly here through our starting lineup, as this is a standing start. So on the pole, it's Taylor Ballant. On his outside is Andrew Bell. In row 2, and starting third, Neil Kemp and Jeff Schenkel in the 4th spot. Luis Henriquez and David French will be in that 3rd row. Mark Cohn, the leader of the Challenger division, and David Fernandez in starting 8th. David Moore, Cam Porter will make out the top 10. Andy Bell, another Challenger division driver, and Chuck Labano make up row 6. Row 7, Joshua Wilkie and Brandon Renfro. Row 7, that was row 7. Row 8, Charlie Hosey and Brian Kennedy. Row number 9, Joe Cicchetti and Ron Wolf. And then into the top 20 now is Matt Thomsen, Andy Kostic in that 20th spot. Freddie Weaver, Brandon Smith in row 11, or in row number 12, Brandon Carl and Jeff Andrus. And our final few positions here, Mike Nickum and Michael Brennan make up that 13th row. 14th row, John Casey, Jeff Besnard. And row number 15, Colin Olson, and Matthew Gunzenda. Then David Jansen, Zach Miller, Scott Brooks, Laura Wiseman, Tom Wendt, and Merrill Eschman. So that is your lineup here. 36 drivers ready to go 40 minutes around Mid-Ohio. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification bell to stay up to date with everything happening here at Slow Motion Broadcasting. Of course, we have our flagship show here with the American Muscle Series, and afterwards, well, there's still another show on the way, so you don't want to miss that. SRG on its way later on this evening. So cars still starting to grid up, and what's going to be very interesting with this standing start here, Jeremy, is that not everybody's starting on this front straightaway.
No, normal standing starts are closer to turn one, but the way iRacing does it, you're basically off that final corner around the carousel. Here comes start.
Here we go. 5 lights on, 5 lights go out, and we're racing here at Mid-Ohio in some Ford Mustangs. 3 wide off the start as they go down into turn number 1. Some guys wrestling their way through, and a big collision further back. 3 cars involved, 4 cars involved, 5 cars involved. That is a huge crash right off the start. And here we go into the chicane for the first time. Everybody single filed out side by side here for third with Taylor Ballant and Andrew Bellin. And Taylor Ballant, our pole sitter, has fallen back now 3 spots right off the gate here. Maybe playing the conservative game a little bit here as Neil Kemp goes out in front.
Well, so far so good through the keyhole as you start to see the stragglers work their way through the chicane. Yeah, Ballant, I think, is playing the smart game and saving the tires. That gives Kemp a chance to move up 2 spots to the lead. 2-3 wide, headed into China Beach. Hold your breath. Could they all make it all alive in one piece? They can, as you see the challenger leader, Mark Cohn, battling David Moore for overall position. Charlie Hosey is in 11th, the closest competitor that Cohn has to worry about, but the Watchman running solidly in the top 10 so far, up and under the old Honda Bridge. We hardly knew ye. And then we get to head to one of the best parts of this track. It is Thunder Valley. You go down and then up once again, single file for the most part for some of these drivers. And Neil Kemp is going to come around. Lead a lap, 2, 3, 4 cars involved. That's Wilkie, one of the cars that's involved in that incident. And Tom Wendt, who gets a meatball flag, he will get going once again. But not a good start for a lot of the back half of the field, as some of them are limping away on that first lap.
Unfortunate there for Josh Wilkie, but our race leader after 1 lap of action is Neil Kemp, and everybody's starting to go a little bit wider through turn 1 here on the exit and back down through the chicane. Neil Kemp holding on to the race lead for now with Jeff Schenkel, who last week was leading in the heat race and unfortunately spun out, was sent to the back, and just unfortunately just had a rough night from there. Just could never get his race going in the feature. And Jeff Schenkel right now in second. Again, a lot of these guys are going to play the smarter game. Stay behind, don't need to press the pace. And why would you? Why would you want to push it? You got 40 minutes that you got to do on this set of tires, and it could be a disaster if you lose these tires early enough. You'll be sent all the way from the front, all the way to the back in this 37-car field as we will look through here. And we're going to look at some replays here. Let's take a look at our race start. You can just see the carnage, guys getting into each other, don't know where to go, 3, 4 wide in some places. And really, I'm not going to lie here, Jeremy, I kind of was expecting that off of a standing start here, with guys having to come around that final corner just to get this race going.
Yeah, Nickham, of course, breaking the tires right there on the front straightaway. That's going to happen really anywhere, but the way this front straightaway is here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, no surprise that we saw that problem. Just glad we didn't collect more cars along the way as, multiple cars able to get going. Taking a look down at our timing screen, Nickham's in the pits, Casey's in the pits, Gazenda's in the pits as well. So those three having the worst of the damage. Wendt and Bell also coming in for service. Wilkie's now into the pits. We saw him with that little spin and contacted turn 8 last time out. And of course, there we go. We're seeing another problem with John Casey, and let's see exactly how that happened. I have a feeling, knowing, just a little back end trying to slide around. And with already a compromised race car, it's, man, Adam, I got to say, if you didn't have bad luck, you would have no luck at all. But here's that second crash that we saw. Wilkie with a little bit of contact going into turn 8 and just could not gather it up. It's so easy to lose it when your back end's already sliding around through that corner.
Yeah, and he got just the slightest of bumps, and these cars, they don't have all the downforce that you would want to have, especially if you're used to driving a heavier type of car or like a GT3, GT4 type race car. These cars are so light in the rear end that it just takes very little to go around and from a bump and recollect yourself. As we go back live here, Neil Kemp still out in front here, doing a great job just holding on to the pace. Right now, the pace being set at 138.651. Brandon Carl has gone into the wall with a front end that is very messed up. So some free scrap metal for anybody who would like that car. And let's see, Scott Brooks, let's see what's happened to him. He's already had some significant damage from earlier on. Tries to go into a corner, and yep, all the downforce pretty much has gone off this race car. The only thing that's saving him is the rear spoiler. He is into the pits. His race is done. And let's see what happened to him earlier. So he's already missing the rear bumper of this race car, went out front. Oh! Just an innocent bystander in that wreck. And that explains why his front bumper is also missing. And you can see what the inside of a Ford Mustang really looks like. So he, unfortunately, So that was Andy Bell, who unfortunately was involved in that incident. And unfortunate here, because a lot of these guys, again, it's a no pit stop race. So if you're going into the pits, it's for damage only. You're not going to get a set of tires. So, and fuel, of course. So a lot of these guys, just unfortunate start to their race here. And what is a 40-minute race, and it is a long journey back, especially if you go down early. So Neil Kemp out in front with Jeff Schenkel in second. Andrew Bellin in third right now. Our winner last week and pole setter tonight, Taylor Ballant, is in the fourth spot, rounding off the top 5, the 42 of David Finch right now. Luis Henriquez, he's lost a spot here tonight as well so far. And the biggest movers here, Jeremy, is right now, as I'm looking through our live timing, it's going to be our 26th place runner of Merle Eichmann in the 125. He's gained 10 spots. He went from 36 to 26. So I guess we can have a hard charger who is outside of the top 20 tonight.
You know, and there's no knock against Eichmann, but that's what happens when you have a lot of attrition in the early going of the race. And something I keep playing back in my head is it's amazing that we have a corner here that's madness, and madness has been in every corner but that corner. So we've seen a lot of tiptoeing, as you see right here, with Eichmann coming around the keyhole, setting himself up down the long stretch into China Beach and madness. And it's just been quite interesting to see this race play out. As looking at your top 28, the only ones who have not pitted so far: Went, Besnard, Wilkie, and Carl. Those still on the course right now. Actually, Nickham back out there, as well as John Casey. Brooks, Bell, and Gazenda look like that their races are essentially done and dusted with early carnage. And that's not good for Besnard, as he was just out there trying to get some sort of point, to say the least, and now he gets underway. Let's see a little bit of a wiggle, and that 248 deciding it wanted to give up the ghost and turn 8 and let everybody else go by before any other issues were rendered.
You could just see that car is beat up on the passenger side of the race car, and he says, you know what, I'm just gonna pull in. That's going to be his night done, unfortunately. Too much damage on that race car. Very chaotic start But things starting to slow down just a little bit here, as really the top 9 have started to break away right now, and it's becoming a little bit of a train race. But right now, it's all about just preserving your tires till the end, when those tires are going to be screaming, yelling, wanting to be changed, telling you to kick rocks, everything. They're going to be throwing a temper tantrum when we get to about probably the 30 or 40 minute, closer to the 40-minute mark, really. We're going to see some really interesting action when we get farther down the order here. And there's Neil Kemp, our race leader. Right now, the pace has kind of slowed down a little bit. We're getting faster. Neil Kemp, last lap time, a 138.095, with Jeff Schenkel, a 138.191. So the pace picking up a little bit, and you gotta wonder, Jeremy, if these guys are really considering the big picture here, if they're picking up the pace.
Yeah, get the car, feel the car out. It's, the first time that these drivers have been so close to one another. I mean, you saw in practice how close they were, but they weren't as close as they are now. You see the drifting and the drafting. And you've got a 5-car battle right here, 5-car train, I should say, making their way around the circuit. As you're watching the sky view from the lot, your pole setter, and he's going to try and climb his way up through the top. But I think his strategy of falling back, letting the race come to him, absolutely a stellar strategy. Speaking of letting the race come to them, as you see Ballant look to the inside of Belling and thinks better of it, closes in right on the back bumper of the number 24. You're on board, and there's Madness once again proving Schenkel almost loses it coming over that corner, the crest. But back to what I was saying, in the challenge class, I would watch out if I was Mark Cohn, because Charlie Hosey's made his way into the top 10 and closing ever so slightly up 5 spots from his grid position. And none of that's due to attrition, because most of that attrition, Adam, as you know, has been in the back part of the circuit. But Labano is closing in on Hosey as well for that 10th spot overall.
Getting closer, and of course, if you're a pro driver, you want to get through some of these challenger class drivers very, very quickly just to move on. And right now, this is for a top 10 position. Labano right now against Hosey. Hosey holding it strong, though, for that 10th spot. And what's been really awesome to see is how many of these Challenger Series drivers are getting into the top 10, staying in front of some of these pro drivers and really giving them a run for their money. And it makes you think maybe some of these guys could have the green label next to them, but they do not this season. You can just see Labano, he's doing everything he can to try and get around, might put the bumper on, decides better of it. And we go back down the hill into turn number, is that turn 13? No, that was turn 15 if I'm looking at my map correctly. Ron, you don't have a map up, do you?
That was a key. That was a keyhole right there.
Thank you. So we're in the keyhole now. I'm not as familiar with Mid-Ohio as I am with other tracks. I'm not gonna lie. I when I've watched IndyCar at Mid-Ohio, not impressed with it. Just it's an interesting racetrack. I'll give it that, but not a big. Yeah, it's in Ohio, so and if you know me well enough, I'm not a big Ohio person. The only place I want to go to that I dream about going to someday is Eldora. So that's the happiest place on earth is at Eldora, not Mid-Ohio.
My sister and brother-in-law, they live in Ohio, and I still say the best thing to do in Ohio is leave. But in all seriousness, my wife and I always talk about this when IndyCar's on. There's a reason why they call it the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. So I will leave it at that. Of course, with my handful of races I've done there, thankfully, I've memorized some of the corners to come deep out of one. Set yourself up for the chicane 1A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, A, L. We'll figure it out later. But the chicane so far is actually doing a lot more than I thought it would for the keyhole. I thought it was going to make it more of a challenge, but these drivers are really tiptoeing around it so far in this race. I have a feeling that's going to change though halfway through as they're going to get more and more aggressive. We're starting to see these times fall ever so slightly. Kemp trying to do what he can to keep Schnankel behind him. There's Ron Wolf you see on the screen. In the Hosey train, Hosey's about 3.3 seconds behind David Moore. So anything can happen here. And another thing these drivers really have to watch out for is the splitters. It doesn't make too much of a difference at some tracks, but here at Mid-Ohio, it's going to make all the difference because you see that nose dipping. You want that extra downforce as you see Freddie Weaver off course. He's got the meatball flag. He towed his way into the pits. Let's see what happened here. And it looks like it's on the approach to China Beach as the 119 just, black smoke. You definitely don't want to see that. But after all, it is a Ford. So, I mean, was the transmission? Yeah, it's a Ford.
Yep. And I would make a comment, but due to the fact that we drive nothing but Ford Mustangs here on the American Muscle Series, I am not going to say a thing as we get another replay here. And, yeah, just gets into the grass, cuts through it, and it's a bumpy ride through there a little bit, and you can just tell. So let's take a look one more time here from on board Freddie Weaver in the 119. Yeah, you can just tell that car there is something wrong. So, yeah, he blew the car. He blew that motor up. So, well, since we've reached this point in the race here, as we're still watching this battle for 10th, but we might as well mention these guys now. Jeremy, you've got the rig, the screens, the passion. But when you're driving into the corkscrew at Laguna Seca, do your pedals feel like a world-class GT3 car, or do they feel like a toy?
They feel like a toy because my pedals are all wood and I'm screaming, as I'm going down the corkscrew.
Well, I got some good news for you. It's time to upgrade your immersion with D-Nut Stuff. We specialize in high-performance sim racing mods designed to give you the trail-breaking precision and throttle control you've been missing. From our legendary DNX and HVD pedal kits to custom spacer and clutch mods, we build gear for racers who demand more than stock. Whether you're a casual Sunday driver or a daily iRacing grinder, our kits for Fanatec, Simpson, and Huskenfeld pedals are engineered to help you find those extra tenths of a second. Stop settling for good enough and start hitting your marks with total confidence. D-Nut Stuff Sim Racing Gear. Serious mods for serious racers. Visit dnutstuff.com and dial in your rig today. Thank you, D-Nut Stuff, for sponsoring the American Muscle Series here at Mid-Ohio. So a big shout out to you guys as we get a nice eye in the sky here at Mid-Ohio. You can almost fit the entire track in one single camera view. Ain't that just gorgeous? So here we go. We still got Neil Kemp out in front, who is leading the pack away from Andrew Bellin, but now a little bit of breathing space for our race leader here. Almost 0.8 of a second. But Jeff Schenkel and Taylor Ballant kind of just going a little bit argy-bargy a little bit there. Taylor Ballant was hoping to make a move, but does not happen here. Jeremy, as this race goes on, we're almost at the 20-minute mark. Unbelievable that we're almost there. And so far, the tires seem to be hanging on, but I feel like we're going to hit that mark in this race where the tires are going to start to really wear away.
Yeah, with the ambient temperature at 75 degrees, the track temperature 105 degrees. You know, the actually 107 degrees is what's showing there on the screen. So timing's giving me a little bit of discrepancy, no surprise. It's going to be quite interesting to see how long these tires are going to go before they start saying, you know what, this is too much, and end up we see drivers slip sliding like they're 16 years old and in the wintertime for the first time. So, and of course, these cars, we keep talking about how light they are, how good of a development car that they are. You know, it's not like we're running a GT3 spec car where the tires go, yeah, I'm done. You're going to know right away when the tires start to go away, and that's how you kind of adjust your racing line. So we'll see how this plays out as we're watching this battle for 14th position with Matt Thomsen, Michael Brennan, and Brian Kennedy. You've got two You got two challenge class drivers battling for position around Matt Thomsen. So you got 33, 135, and 111 as they work their way. And that's what I love. That's what I like about sports cars here at Mid-Ohio. It's not necessarily, battling per se, but you really got to work to close in on somebody, and that's what makes that position just so much better.
Well, Matt Thomsen right now sitting 14th overall, trying to be comfortable, but he's got a 6-second gap between him and P13 tonight. SRGF4 and Interlagos. That's immediately after our broadcast here tonight here at the American Muscle Series. And then next week here, Jeremy, here on AMS, we get to go to Naval Base Coronado. Because who knows, it could be even more chaotic than what we had here tonight at our start of our race.
Well, the good news is the walls won't move on us like they did for NASCAR. So that's the good news. The bad news is there's a lot of elevation changes for a street race, so that's going to be a lot of fun, especially because now we're actually going to have a long enough straightaway where everybody can be on the grid at the same time. So we'll see what happens. Naval bumps Coronado. Oh my God, I cannot believe that. Leave it to Ron. Leave it to Ron.
Yeah, this is what happens when we leave Ron alone with graphics and different things. He starts to get a little feisty in the production trailer here, Jeremy. We can't leave this guy alone. We got to maybe sit in with him for a majority of the time and make sure we tie his hands once we get this broadcast going. So all he does is click a mouse.
Well, it's been nice knowing everybody here. This is the last broadcast of Slow Motion Broadcasting. But either way, having a street course for these cars is going to be absolutely interesting. And hopefully the organizers at AMS decide to have 2, 3, maybe even 4 faster pairs at the ready.
Hopefully. In that race next week, it should be a pit stop race. I'm going to just double check here. Just the way that this series is formatted. Yes, it is a 40-minute race with pit stops, so they're going to be a little kind next week. Not have to do this 40-minute no pit stops like they're doing around here in Mid-Ohio. As the battle for 4th and 5th and 3rd, it doesn't matter. Pretty much everybody in that top 6 group trying to think about ways to move up here as we are officially halfway past this race. And everything starting, again, there's a lot of spread, but there's also a few trains being formed up here. Now we're going to take a look at our biggest mover here. And according to our live timing and scoring, Paul Cantlon up 12 spots, sitting in 25th right now. So good for him, as he's been able to avoid the carnage and keep that car pointed forward, which at this point, in order to get that Hart Charger award, you could start in the back and just avoid the carnage, and there you go. You got a bunch of spots that way, but he still has a 4.9 second gap all the way up to Laura Weissman. So, and that, looking through here, drivers who are currently a lap down, Mike Nickum is a lap down along with John Casey. Jeff Besnard is also out as we look at the battle here for 7th. Mark Cohn trying to get by David Fernandez, but has David Moore right on his back bumper, smelling the exhaust pipe as we move through what is known as, again, I want to make sure I'm saying this right. That was that turn 12?
Yeah. Turn 9. So now we're coming up out of Thunder Valley and setting ourselves up for the carousel right there where you see those 4 cars are. I've been watching this Cone Fernandez battle for just a couple of laps, and more being the interested spectator. I think he's become more of a participant than anything else, closing in as you work down onto the pit straight once again. Oh, Moore with a little flashy, so not so good out of the 13. That may hurt him a little bit later on, but they work their way out of one. By the way, Cam Porter with the fastest lap. You saw him earlier, 37.874. for, but let's see what happens here. Fernandez drops a wheel off going into the chicane, and that's going to give Cone the chance to watch that lead kind of close in. He's going to poke a nose out there, but not going to make anything happen as Fernandez shuts the front door on him coming around the keyhole, and they get back into single file. Now the question is, does Cone have anything for Fernandez going into China Beach? Because if you could fall off here, it's not like the new profile, it's an old one, so you just drop off and Cone too far away to make anything happen. Not going to make any dive bombs, but he is going to try and show himself to the Gone Broke Racing 09 of Fernandez. Inside of Madness, shuts the front door on him, up and over Madness. A fantastic defense by Fernandez as Cone tries to do all he can. Now this pass here will not be of consequence because this is an out-of-class battle here as Cone is your challenger leader. But 4 seconds back to Hosey. I mean, I would imagine that Cone's just driving just for the fun of it at this point.
Well, for Cone, anything right now, staying in front of Charlie Hosey is a plus. He's running in the top 10 right now, very comfortable there. You know, we might see some defensive maneuvers, and hell, might as well attack. So, and he is right there with David Fernandez as they're starting to pull away here from David Moore, almost to a second. And here's our top two. Things are really starting to spread out here amongst our drivers as we see Taylor Ballant trying to make a move, and he does finally get around Jeff Schenkel for the third spot here. And what's been really interesting here about Taylor Ballant, he's not pushing the envelope just yet. He is at his last lap time, a 138.947. Neil Kemp ran a 138.153. Andrew Belling 138.136. So Andrew Belling, is the fastest man on the racetrack, trying to keep up with Neil Kemp as we're 25 minutes into this one. And again, it's going to come down to the tires and how well the tires held up all the way to even the final minutes of this race as we get finally a track map to help a commentator out that can't read a map that's in a different orientation and doesn't particularly know Mid-Ohio like I should. I apologize for that. But Ron Wolf now as we go back for the battle in the top 10. Charlie Hosey getting a little aggressive here, tries to put the bumper down onto David Moore. Does not quite get there. Excuse me, that is Ron Wolf trying to hold on to the top 10. Charlie Hosey was the one trying to put the bumper, but we got a 4-car train here. Everybody trying to get around Ron Wolf here, the 44 machine. He is running away like, well, a gazelle runs away from the lion.
I was going to say he's running away like he was told, yes, you may leave Ohio. So, but still, Wolf, the proverbial cork in the bottle here. I have a feeling if Hosey gets around once again, he's going to bring Lobato and Renfro with him as he got a lap car moving off to the side. Discretion being the better part of valor, but the Canadian trying to hold off some very fast comers right behind him because he knows that once Hosey gets around, he's going to lose him for just a little bit because Hosey is wants to close in on Cone, but then again, it's about a 2-second gap between Cone and Hosey. So best that Hosey can do is hope that Brennan doesn't get ahead of steam. He's 7 seconds back, but stranger things have happened here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Ballant and Schnekel battling for position, and I don't think that Ballant's gamble worked out too well. Hosey closing it ever so slightly onto Wolf. Oh, just a little bit of paint rummage right there, heading into Madness, and a little bit of bump there inside the fuel cell. Yeah, that's what they look like, kids. So don't tell your parents that you saw something like that on YouTube.
Oh, my Lord. Oh. Yep. You got Taylor Ballant right now leading a 3-car train. But I would imagine with him running a slower pace, even though the drivers ahead of him have a 3-second gap on him, that's not going to phase him one bit. I think Taylor Ballant is sitting in the best position right now, Jeremy. He's in clean air. He's been saving his tires. And when we get to that probably 30-minute mark, I would imagine he's going to pick up the pace here. There's no reason. I mean, he ran a 139.2 his last lap, but he was battling drivers, and now he gets a full clean lap here. So he is going to definitely start putting the throttle down a little bit. He's got the clean air, so that means the tires aren't going to wear as badly. He's got people behind him that are going to push him all the way up to the front. I think Taylor Ballant has called a worldie here to not push the issue so early on and just hold it. He just went backwards and just allowed the chaos and carnage to ensue around him. The race is going to come to him as now he's put out up to a 1.1 second advantage over Jeff Schenkel here. I think he's in prime position to win this race.
Yeah, yes and no, but at the same time, when you have Kemp opening up a big gap right there, although I will say this, if they open up a bigger gap, I think it's going to be game on between Kemp and Bellig for racing, but will it be too late for Taylor? We'll see how that plays out as over Thunder Valley now around the carousel. They work their way into the final corner. They'll come right here. The left-hander, it sets you up for the pit straight, and indeed another lap in the books. We're about a half hour into this 40-minute race with Neil Kemp, Andrew Belling, your top two. About a couple car lengths separate the two of them. They come under the Honda Bridge and set themselves up for the chicane heading into the keyhole. I don't know. We'll see what happens with Ballant as now Mark Cohn goes up to 7th place. Finally able to dispatch of David Fernandez. We'll see what happens here, but Fernandez going to look to the inside of Cohn, headed towards the chicane. Cohn shuts the door on him this time and opens up a 1 to 2 car length gap. So the watchman able to watch that gap open up ever so slightly, and now about 4.8 seconds behind the Schenkel train as they work their way down turn 3, headed into 4. But Cohn, I'll tell you what, he's looking like a man on a mission, as it looks like Hosey's fallen all the way back to 14th. So all Cohn has to do is make sure to keep that nose nice and clean throughout the race. And
of course, if Cohn continues this on here and does not have an incident where it drops him 5 spots, well, he will be our winner here tonight in Challenger. Let's see what's happened here to Charlie Hosey, the 100 car. Oh, he had some help. Somebody tried to dive bomb him. The 41 Chuck Labano finally had enough of Charlie Hosey and says, you know what? I'm sick of this. You're getting spun. And that's exactly what happened. One more look at it. You can see Labano decides, I'm going to go down the inside. I'm going to try and make the move. The door wasn't all the way open, and Hosey was, unfortunately, just an innocent man, just sitting there, not causing any problems, and gets punished for it. So Mark Cohn, right now, a very comfortable lead in our Challenger class. Andy Kosick right now leading the amateurs tonight, which is good news. If you have watched any sort of slow motion broadcasting show, you know that Andy Kosick participates in quite a few events that we broadcast here. Of course, that includes XSLR, which will hopefully be making a return soon, with yours truly on the broadcast, and Ron Maunz, hopefully not losing his job after this race, will be there as well. So, and keep an eye out, Andy Kosick, when he can finally get comfortable, he's somebody who can drive through the field. Unfortunately, that's never the case. He usually finds bad luck somewhere, so hopefully tonight his luck turns around here at AMS. Last week, unfortunately, had an incident that he unfortunately just could not find any luck there as well. Up to the front of the field, Neil Kemp, up to a 1.3 second lead. And here's the thing here, Jeremy, watching the gap starting to close. Taylor Ballant has now closed the gap to 2.7 seconds to Andrew Belling. So keep an eye out on that timing board a little bit with each passing lap. I told you by about lap 30, he's going to turn on the afterburners and he is going to go. And actually, he does put up the fastest lap time of the race, a 1:37.706. And if he can keep that pace up, he's going to get up to the front fairly quickly.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty quick that could happen. I mean, he has closed within a second, so Stranger things have happened, but the sands in the hourglass just keep sliding away, much like Michael Brennan was doing right there, heading through the carousel. And now I'm starting to wonder how many of these drivers have enough tire to last them through the race. It was something that I mentioned about, 5-10 minutes ago, where these tires are just going to start giving up grip through some of these faster corners, and these drivers are going to have to catch it ever so slightly. You see Schenkel holding off David Finch. That's for the 4th position. And now this is when things get a little bit messy here. There's a lot of close racing, but not a lot of it, to say the least, is worth substance, because everybody's close. So they just don't want to make that move that could end their race as they work their way around, up and over Madness, heading down towards the old Honda Bridge as they come around for yet another lap. And Belling losing ground. He's now a second away from Neil Kemp, so I'm wondering if the chase is on for Belling to see what he can do, as he's about a half second faster than both Kemp and Belling, to say the least.
Every time you say Honda Bridge, I think a broke teenager gets a Honda Civic that's a project car. Every time you say it.
Hey, why not? They got to learn. I think I learned how to drive somehow.
Andrew Belling right now in second, just staying around that 1 second gap to Neil Kemp, but is starting to, again, he's right there, just cannot get close enough. But there is the man that I think has the best possible chance to win here right now, and that's Taylor Ballant. He is still running in the 137s. The guys in front of him, Neil Kemp, a 138.0. Andrew Belling, a 138.1. For Taylor Ballant, a 137.898. So just a couple of tenths faster than the front runners, and he's closing the gap now under 2 seconds to the back bumper of Andrew Belling. And now let's go back to somebody who I called out earlier, was our hard charger of the night at one point, Merrill Eichmann, battling with our current hard charger of Paul Catlon. Catlon right now sitting 25th. This is the battle for the 3rd spot in our amateur division here. So things starting to really shape up in this amateur class here, as Andy Kosick holding on to the 18th spot overall and leading the charge. And lap traffic going to be a factor here. And Neil Kemp, I think the tires are starting to wear. Again, last time around, a 138.0. And Taylor Ballant, a 137.898. Now, his fastest lap time right now was a 137.706. So it's come down a couple of tenths. And that last time by Neil Kemp, a 138.4. Andrew Belling, a 138.7. Taylor Ballant, a 137.7. Fastest man on the racetrack right now.
Yeah, but with the 2-3 laps left to go, it's going to take major drop off by Kemp and Belling. But here's the thing, that major drop off may come in the way of lap traffic, as you see Ballant getting bigger and bigger in our camera view when we're looking at 1st and 2nd place. We'll see how that all plays out here in the next couple of laps, because this all depends on how Kemp and Belling decide they're going to work this lap traffic. Little bit of spinning right there as Jansen goes for a ride. He's able to go get straightened out by by whoever spun him out there. I think that's Chichetti who spun him out right there. But still, that was a heck of a save. And now they're getting aggressive between Chichetti and Olsen. They're going side by side, coming out of one, and now nose to tail. So things are getting just a tad bit argy-bargy. Here comes Olsen as he goes across the gravel trap, across the stripe, and that is why we don't use the chicane anymore.
Well, Olsen going for a little bit of a wild ride there, and hopefully we can re-look at that one more time. And he was making some good progress on everybody in front of him. So Mark Cohn is your leader in the Challenger class, but here's the replay. And going into the chicane. Oh, and it hooks. Just could not get the car to turn around here. So he gets back on the racetrack, and on his way he goes. And looking at this one more time. This is Jeff Besnard, who is in the way. Let's see, Jeff Besnard, who came into the pits earlier, went way wide. Turned that Ford Mustang into a Ford Fiesta. Oh, and here we go. Yeah, you can see everybody, those tires. And everybody are just this absolutely tight-knit racing. Jeff Andrus, again, those rear tires going away a little bit, gets through a little argy-bargy action. Oh, and thank the Lord, and there goes Joe Cincetti. Hook somebody around, and that was Olsen, I think. Yeah, it was Olsen. So now that we got that all sorted, we go back out to the race lead here as Taylor Ballon has now closed the gap to under a second, but trying to navigate lap traffic here. That is going to be the difficult part. And right now, for Taylor Ballon, he's actually getting a lot of time costed here. Finally, he's able to find an opening here, Jeremy. And Taylor Ballon, that's going to cost him this race.
Oh, then again, we'll see how many more lap cars. Actually, yeah, there's no lap cars right now between Kemp and the start-finish line. Last time around, as we are well under the time that's going to take for these cars to get around. I think I saw Barney also waving the white flag on the start-finish bridge. So plenty of time left for anything to happen. Kemp, though, what a smart move by him to get up to the front. And he's able to really hold on to that lead from the word go. As you see, Andrew Belling also in second place. Well, didn't gain any, didn't lose any. So that's always a good feeling when you can hang tight, especially in that second place. But Adam, I've got to say this, Taylor Ballon, unfortunately, gambled and came up pretty bad.
Yep, he gambled, and unfortunately, I do think lap traffic what really cost him there. Unfortunately. So for Neil Kemp, he is going to be very happy about that, and Andrew Bellin, who is unfortunately not going to be close enough, as we are going to have the checkered flag fall here. And Neil Kemp has drove an amazing race today. He has kept it out in front, did not make a single mistake today. And Neil Kemp will be our second winner in two different races here at American Muscle Series. Neil Kemp will take the checkered flag here at Mid-Ohio. Great racing. Great race from him. Andrew Bellin will come home to second. Taylor Ballon, unfortunately, rolls the dice and does not get to the checkered flag first tonight. Jeff Schenkel, though, down to fourth where he qualified tonight. David Fench, fifth. Top five finish for him. Luis Henriquez, not a bad night, but probably a disappointing night for this driver of the number 6 car. Mark Cohn finishes out in 7th. David Fernandez in 8th. David Moore 9th. And rounding out the top 10, Ron Wolf. So Mark Cohn wins the Challenger division. Michael Brennan, who won last week, finishes second tonight. Brian Kennedy finishes in third. And Andy Kosick will win the amateur division here as well. So some good race in there, except for really the first probably opening 10 minutes, Jeremy. But Neil Kemp held it out strong, and with the tires yelling, screaming, and throwing a temper tantrum, gets to the checkered flag first.
Yeah, that's a great run by Neil Kemp, and really keep Andrew Belling behind him as well. By the way, that last lap, Taylor Ballon with the best of the race, 37.604. So he left something there in the tank, and what a shame that he was blocked off by lap traffic, as he could have made life impossible for Belling and or Kemp as they work their way into the carousel. They'll come into the pits, and unless Kemp decides he's going to burn off what's left of those BF Goodriches coming off that final corner and take the donuts, best ones that you'll have in Ohio, because really, well, yeah, does he just wax the wall. Well, okay then. That's one way to make your crew mad, is just to junk your winning race car, but hey, you do you. Either way, a fantastic win by Neil Kemp, able to hold off Andrew Belling for that win. Marcone, the only non-pro in the top 10. That's absolutely fantastic as well.
Well, we'll get our final results here. And then we'll be talking to some drivers afterwards. Oh, man. This is why, again, we can't leave Ron alone in the production trailer. Neil Kemp, your race winner. Andrew Belling, second. Third goes to Taylor Ballant. Jeff Schenkel in fourth with David French in fifth. Sixth goes to Luis Henriquez, our winner of the Challenger Division tonight, Mark Cohn. David Fernandez in eighth. David Moore in ninth. And rounding out the top 10, Ron Wolf. 11th goes to Chuck Labano. Brandon Renfro in 12th. Michael Brennan in the 13th spot, Brian Kennedy in 14th. Cam Porter, 15th overall tonight with Matt Thomsen in 16th. Charlie Hosey in 17th and 18th in the winner of the AM division tonight, Andy Kosick. Go ahead, Jeremy.
As you go to the second, Brandon Smith in 19th, Jeff Andrus in 20th, Joe Chichetti in 21st, 22nd, David Jansen, Colin Olson finishes second in the AM's 23rd overall, Laura Weissman, Merle Eichmann, your first car, one lap down, that's Paul Cantla, I should say, Tom Wendt, and Brandon Carl. As we keep going down the order as well, you have Mike Nickham, your first car, 2 laps down. I'm really surprised you didn't, especially how bent up that race car was off the start. John Casey, 2 laps down in 30th, and 5 laps down there's Jeff Besnard with Zach Miller, 6 laps down alongside Andy Bell in 33rd. Out of the race, though, Freddie Weaver, Joshua Wilkie, Scott Brooks, and Matthew Gazenda.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. And now we will, first off, we need to thank a sponsor, and that is Chiba Hut. Look, Jeremy, we've all been there. You're staring at a menu of sad, cold corporate sandwiches and thinking, there's got to be something better than this. At Chiba Hut, we've been flipping the bird to the status quo since 1998. We're not just making sandwiches. We're curing the munchies with the dankest toasted subs on the planet. From our signature White Widow to the Kali Mist, every sub is homegrown, toasted to perfection, and served up in a joint where you can actually relax. Need to kill that cotton mouth? We've got local craft beers on tap and plenty of Kool-Aid to keep you hydrated. Whether you're stopping in or we're flying it to your door, we've got exactly what you need to stay stoked. Chiba Hut Toasted Subs. Swing by our shop in your area or order online. Chiba Hut. Toasted since 1998. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and talk to our overall race winner here tonight, and that is Mr. Neil Kemp. Neil, congratulations on what was a race of attrition, but that didn't bother you too much. It was about just keeping the tires in shape.
Oh my gosh, I was just keeping my eyes forward and trying not to get distracted. It's such a full focus track, it was crazy. Just kind of skating around, you know? It was just like an ice skating rink. So you're just like searching for grip, basically.
How were those last few laps? Just knowing that you have lap traffic, the tires were throwing a temper tantrum. Well, how did you handle that?
Well, I got a little ornery, but you know, it was just the heat of the moment. I love those guys, but yeah, I was just trying to keep it cool, just trying, you know, I think they let me through on those S's, and you know, just trying not to wipe out and miss shift or something and ruin it all.
You were battling there with Andrew Bellin for a while. Unfortunately, he fell off the pace there towards the end, but that's got to feel good knowing that you're picking up a win here early here in the season.
Yes, it is. It's only my second win, and you know, I feel really good about it. It was some great racers behind me, you know, making me stay honest, that's for sure. I just want to congratulate Andrew and Taylor, and you know, well done, guys. That was tough.
Anybody you want to thank before we let you go?
just the guys, Ed and Mike, from the league, and always enjoy listening to you guys. Appreciate it, and just the racers on Frito Sport, really appreciate them, and that's about it. And my wife for letting me do this, of course. Always got to throw that in.
One final question here. We head to Coronado, Naval Base Coronado next week. The admins were nicer for the next round. It's a 40-minute race with a pit stop. What are some of your expectations for next week?
Much like this week, you just got hit your marks. Everybody is so good and so rehearsed, and so you gotta be just totally disciplined, and just set your mind that way, and practice. Show up prepared.
Yep. Well, thank you so much for joining us here, and congratulations.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Neil Kemp, our overall winner here tonight. Next up, Mark Cohn. Mark, winner of our Challenger division here tonight, and finished 7th overall. That's got to feel good coming home with a top 10 finish here on what was a chaotic race at the start.
Oh my word, I had right side damage virtually the whole race. I thought for a second that I was going to have the infamous shopping cart damage, which would make my car undrivable, but somehow it was. I kept going, hoping the tires would stay on. It was so difficult here that you really had to manage it, and somehow everything worked out. I can't believe it.
Well, you had some pretty fast guys behind you tonight. David Fernandez, David Moore, Cam Porter. But it's got to feel good knowing that you actually were competing with those guys up in the pro class.
It wasn't easy. It took literally David Fernandez making a mistake for me to be able to pass him. I tried 2 times and it just didn't work out. And one of those I had to hold off more as well, but they raced me so clean. It was a real pleasure getting to be up there with them.
Talk about the tires. 40 minutes, no pit stop. The tires probably throwing a temper tantrum tonight. How were the tires at the end of the race?
Fine. I stuck on a certain setup which I thought would be good, but then when it came to race practice, my gut was like, no, this won't make it the whole 40 minutes. And my teammate from Frito Sport, Matt Thomsen, gave me a set with some tires staggered special, and it had so much grip that as long as I wasn't being stupid, I knew I would have grip the whole race, and by God, I did. It still felt like I could do another 10 laps if I wanted to.
Well, that's always good to hear. Now, I'm going to mention this as a compliment. I love your paint scheme, by the way. That 139 is so big you could see it from space.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to try and not get emotional here, but everyone in the racing world lost a true hero in Kyle Busch, gosh, less than a couple of months ago, and it was absolutely heartbreaking. And since that happened, I wanted to do something to honor him, and this specific paint scheme throws back to his 2006 Truck Series at Charlotte win, which was actually the first time he rode the Rowdy Busch paint scheme when he had the opportunity to run the number 51. And after that, he made Rowdy his shtick, and he was known as Rowdy from then on. So that paint scheme was always iconic to me, and I'm beyond thrilled that I was able to get it in victory lane in memory of him.
Anybody you want to thank for getting yourself a class win here tonight?
Oh gosh, all the guys at Frito Sport. I love racing with that team so much. And Sim Gaming Expo, do not miss it. It's going to be in September in Schaumburg. You have to be there. If you can make it there, be there. TW3 liveries that made me this fantastic paint scheme, Nizumi Studios, SimLab, DeWars Candies and Fine Shoes, Sam Maxwell Customs. I'm sure there's a few that I'm forgetting, but just thank you to everyone that make this all possible. and of course the AMS admins. I love racing in this league, and you guys for making me look good. I love watching back the broadcasts.
And next week, Naval Base Coronado, street circuit, lots of walls, not a whole lot of room for error. Will we see this paint scheme back in Victory Lane next week?
I hope so. It's actually going to be sponsored by the Joy of Driving, and I picked this track, so I'm super excited. It's super unforgiving. I'm sure it'll have even less grip than here tonight, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. It'll possibly be the toughest track we'll race all season.
All right. Well, thank you, Mark, for joining us here, and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And finally, we get to talk to Andy Kosick, our AM winner here tonight. Andy Kosick, it's been a while, sir, since we've gotten to talk to you. Congratulations on the AM class win here tonight. That's got to feel good, especially early on in the season.
Yes, it really helped offset some of the sadness that happened last week. Mid-Ohio is my home track, so I've actually raced here in real life a few times, so I'm very familiar with it, and I think that showed in the results tonight.
You stayed out of trouble tonight compared to last week. Last week, it just seemed like trouble could only find you. And how'd you keep it clean out there?
Well, I don't know. I think I just tried to hold the line, and there was a lot of patience. Mid-Ohio is a pretty good track to race side by side if you really want to. And I mean, you're a lot slower, but you can do it in most places if you got the practice in. And I think I must have qualified fast enough that for whatever reason, the people all around me pretty well held their line, and we were able to get ourselves established and get things moving. And then after that, I just kind of, a couple guys caught me, and I just didn't put up much of a fight. I'm like, well, I'm minding my distance between me and P2 in class, so a challenger guy catches up, I'm not in that fight, so I just let him go.
Of course, you had to avoid the carnage at the beginning, so that had to have been fun.
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't. There wasn't any heart attack moments. I don't know why. I didn't. I didn't feel heart attacks. There was cars in the track, but we were going slow enough, and we could make it around them. And I don't think anybody was making any bad decisions once they were spun out. They held their brakes, and so we were able to find our way around.
Anybody you want to thank for the class win here tonight?
Oh, I think I'd like to thank the guys that run the league, for keeping on. Even though Ed wasn't here tonight, still appreciate all the work that he puts in. And also like to thank my old man. He watches all the broadcasts.
Awesome. Next week, Naval Base Coronado. Going to be a tough one.
Oh boy.
Is Andy Kosick going to avoid the walls?
I will do my best.
Well, good. That's what we want to hear. Congratulations, Andy, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, sir. Have a good night.
You too. Andy Kosick, AM class winner here tonight. Jeremy, how do we sum this one up?
Well, the good news is all the messes got out of the way early, but, there's a lot of great battles all throughout. And like we said, if you really wanted to sum it up in one word, it would be grit, because that's what it took to advance positions here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. One of my favorite courses for sports cars, and can't wait to see what happens next week at Coronado.
Well, that will be exciting next week. And if you're wanting to watch more of what's happening here around Slow Motion Broadcasting, hit that subscribe button, because, well, we got some great racing on its way here in about 20 minutes time. We have the Sim Racers Group F4 coming up here in about 20 minutes. But then tomorrow night, Street Nights Racing at St. Petersburg at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then at 10 p.m. Eastern, the Sim Racers Group F3 Fixed Series around Spa. Then the Ray Esports Racing returns to Sunday here at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. with the Ray Esports Summer Series around VIR. And then next week, that is not correct, Ron. We are here back with the American Muscle Series. It says New Hampshire. It's supposed to be Naval Base Coronado. So some great shows on the way, and of course, more even coming back as well. So, and that's why, folks, you should always hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and even like this video and share this out to your friends, family, and whoever, even your grandmother if you need to get them to join us here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Jeremy, thank you very much for your efforts here tonight. Ron, you get a B+. We'll make sure he's not alone next week, and we'll hopefully have a better idea of what we're doing around here on the American Muscle Series. And thank you for all you viewers at home for joining us here every single week. My name is Adam Thomsen. For Jeremy Scott, Ron Maunz, Josh Wilkie, and everyone here at Slow Motion Broadcasting, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next week from San Diego.